All these things going crazy and still being able to find not only peace and stillness, but be able to find purpose and meaning and show up in such a way that allows for me to continue to contribute to this thing, to continue to use my experience and all the crazy shit that I experienced, use it in such a way that I can give it to you and help you to shortcut the process and help you tap into this energy too. That's what recovery has led me to be. Hey, you feel that?
You are now tuned into You Feel That with Bryce the Third.
Yo, and welcome to another episode of You Feel That with Bryce the Third, the best podcast there is for high-level entrepreneurs looking to learn how to master their emotions. Here's where we learn to be compassionate, understanding, serving leaders one episode at a time. The big question is this: how do I, as an ambitious entrepreneur, learn to master my emotions in a way that allows me to continuously show up and do the next scary thing that could potentially take my career and life to the next level? I am, of course, your host, Bryce the Third, and this is part 2 of a two-parter. So if you haven't heard part 1, I suggest you go back and listen to last week's episode. It is the precursor to this episode. It gives quite a bit of background to my recovery journey, my recovery from substance use and alcoholism, and that journey and what that looked like for me to get to where it is that we are going to start at in this episode. If you're just one of those special, unique people who is like, fuck that, I don't need to go listen to the last episode, I'm going to just tap in right now, then, hey, you could listen to this episode and not go back and listen to that episode. But I would suggest you go and listen back to the first episode just so you had a context as to where we are at now. So for those of you who don't know and didn't know, I am in recovery from substance use and alcoholism. I am coming up on 9 years in July, and I thought this would be a great time to just have this conversation in public around substance use and alcoholism and what my personal experience was like. And that's what we spent a lot of the first episode on, kind of just digging into like my personal process, like what it was that I was experiencing, what were my personal motivations, what I was thinking, what I was feeling when I was going through my active addiction. And so now we're on the other side of the spectrum. We're on the other side of the tracks where I have gone to rehab, I have come home from rehab, I am attending a 12-step program, and I am learning who I am for the first time ever. So raw. So raw. Talk about like ripping a scab off of your skin and you just have raw, exposed skin. All those emotions I told you that I would use drugs and alcohol to be able to avoid or to numb up. Now all those emotions are still there, if not even amplified, because there were so many things that would have happened at this point that I, would numb up and just kept numbing up to get away from. And now like everything is coming back at once, including the question, like, what do I want? And that question, as we've talked about on the show before, having intention is what guides us towards our desired reality, because it allows for us to draw up a blueprint of what it is that we even desire. And sometimes we don't even have the experience asking that question in our lives at all. And I think for me, when I came home from rehab and started going to these 12-step meetings, this was the first time in life that I had asked myself, what do I want? And the thing about this question, what do I want? It will shake your life up. It will shake your life up. Because once we ask that question, now we're responsible to carry out whatever the answer that comes back is. Like now it is our responsibility to act in alignment with the answer that comes back from asking that question, or be depressed. If I ask myself and I ask the universe what it is that I want, and then I begin to get indication of feedback as to what it is that I want, and then I don't take action on that, like now I'm depressed. Now I'm in misalignment with what it is that I intend. And so there is I wouldn't say a dark side of waking up, but there's a responsibility that comes along with it. And I think this is what keeps people from even asking themselves what they want. I think this is what keeps people sedated. I think this is what keeps people comfortable, because the uncomfortability of finding out that you want something other than what your life is reflective of right now can be disorienting. Can be. So what if you ask yourself, what do I want, and you're married, and what comes back is, I don't want to be with this person anymore. It's like, oh shit. Especially even if nothing's wrong with the person, it's just like, this is not what I want for my life right now. Like, I rock with this person in the season of my life, but now who it is that I see myself as being, there's a misalignment, and I need to. It's like, wow, now I have to take action, and the action isn't always okay. Well, I have to leave this person. Maybe it's voicing that I feel this way to this person, and maybe that person is curious as to why I feel that way, and maybe we work on things to add freshness and newness to our agreement and understanding as to why we are involved interpersonally to begin with, and maybe new development comes from that. But that is the process of asking ourselves what we want. So came home, asked myself what I wanted, and I'm working at this plant, and it definitely wasn't that. And so now I'm to a point to where it's like I don't know how I'm gonna make any money equivalent to what we make at the plant. So the thing about plant culture here in Detroit is that Henry Ford offered the $5 workday to blacks and whites, right, when it was still very segregated in the United States. And so black people came up from the South to work at these factories because Henry Ford was like, I'm paying you $5. I don't care if you black or white. I don't care what you look like. I'm paying you $5 to work this assembly line. So culturally, and this wasn't even that long ago. It's like, I'm not the best chronologically, but I know it's far back enough for my grandfather, who's 80-something. He didn't understand when I said I wanted to leave Ford Motor Company. And damn sure wasn't nobody in the plant going to be supportive of me leaving. I couldn't tell nobody in the plant like, yo, I don't think this is it. Where you going to go? What you going to do? What about these health benefits? Where you going to go to get paid as much as you getting paid here? How you going to do that? We'll talk your ass out of leaving, and then every day you show up will complain about the gig that they have. I don't know. Once again, this is why I'm not saying any specific name. As for where it is I used to work at, because I don't want nobody coming for me. I just know that it wasn't for me. Anyway, so I asked myself this question: what do I want? And now I'm starting to get feedback like, oh, I don't want this, and that's that contrast we talk about in the show, where it's like we go out and we collect data that allows for us, one, to see what it is that we want, and two, to have experience with what it is that we don't want, which allows for us to get even more specific on what it is that we do want. And then we get clarity on our intentions. And the more clarity we can cultivate around our intentions, the more specific our actions can be in obtaining what it is that we intend. So I started banging podcasts, audiobooks, just started going crazy. I didn't even know how to communicate. I didn't know how to talk. I didn't know how to do none of this. What's funny is my girl at the time, my kid's mom, she had told me, she said, if you could do anything that you wanted to do, because I was trying to do all type of stuff. I was selling books on eBay. I was doing Amazon FBA. I was doing all this stuff, but it was tough because I'm juggling, this 10-hour work shift, sometimes 7 days a week, with all of the energy that I have to give to like starting something new. And my only motivation was to make more money, and it was just draining. And so my kid's mom asked me, what would you do if money wasn't an issue? What would you do if you could just focus on one thing? I was like, of course, my music. For those of you who don't know, which is crazy still to me to this day that I had to say that, because like everything was music at one point. But I'm an artist. I rap. I make music. I songwrite. I perform. I'm really like a dope ass live performer. I've collaborated with major artists. But anyways, this is in the beginning, and I said, of course, my music. And she was like, well, do that for a year and see what happens. And if nothing happens, if nothing comes from it, then you can't say that you didn't try. And so I proceeded to, pursue what it was that my heart called me to do. And I started going to open mics, and I started like going to these spaces, and there was this evolution. I would go to these open mics, and I would go and I'd feel all low and drained because of the nature of the music that I would experience at these open mics. And so I vowed like, I'll show up to these open mics, and every time I show up to an open mic, I'm going to contribute energy in such a way that people who are having a hard week will leave that area and feel as if they can keep going at least for a week, at least till they come back to the open mic again. And, that turned into like in between the songs, I would connect with the audience, and it would just be this community building thing. And I loved it. And I love being able to communicate in that way. So it's like, okay, so there's something here. So, the music got to popping, and, I started getting booked gigs and started getting paid gigs. And then, I started winning contests, and it's like, oh, okay, this is fun. And I got to stop here, because the difference between leading, and this is for the entrepreneurs listening, the difference between the stuff I was doing for money Like the eBay, the FBA, like nothing's wrong with that. Those are very viable. I think any vehicle is viable. I think the biggest thing behind any vehicle is belief. I think maybe some things are harder than others, but I think anybody can make anything work if they believe that they can. But for me, my issue was leading with money. I was leading with what I can get out of these circumstances. Like how can I replace my paycheck as quick as possible is what I was trying to do. And it was fucking killing me. It was fucking frustrating me. And I was limited with ideas because I was acting out of scarcity. I was acting out of emergency. I was acting out of panic. I didn't want to work at the plant anymore. So how can I get out of here? How can I, what can I do? What can I sell? What can I do? And it was just stressful as shit. And what's so interesting was when I was given permission, which nobody can give us permission but ourselves, but when somebody I really cared for and, I was living in the same house with gave me the go ahead, like, look, like pursue your music and see what happens. It was like, okay. I started, showing up and doing shit for free. Like, I don't care. Like, I'm not looking for the money. I'm looking to figure out like how I can do this thing that I really love to do and how I could be of contribution and how I can show up in such a way that contributes to the culture, contributes to these spaces, contributes to people. So the difference between those two things is I was leading with one, the money, and it was killing me. And I was leading with the other, how can I be of service? How can I add to the space? How can I be a contribution to the culture? And it was giving me life. And because I was being given life, I was able to give life. And people give money to those who give life. That's a business nugget. That's an entrepreneurship nugget. Prioritize contribution. Prioritize service. And then those ideas about the business will come on the back end. Because everybody is willing to pay for somebody who is a major contribution. And that's a fact. But yeah, so and then, as time went on, like I could talk about the different opportunities that came about that led me to here. I mean, as we're sitting here and you're watching the show, and even here, like I need you to know that, like we talked in the first episode, like recovery is not like a one and done thing. Like recovery is a process. You are actively witnessing me in my recovery journey. Like this, like creating a platform. Like setting out to do things, not getting paid for shit at first. Like taking a chance, taking a risk. Like this is what I've been called to do. Nobody told me to show up and do this for y'all. I'm not even doing it for y'all. Like I'm doing it for me, to be honest with you. Like because this is my calling. I have to show up and I have to add value in this way because this has been my calling. So this is what recovery in action looks like. We show up, we take the chances, we show up, we create the opportunity. We don't wait for somebody to come and save us. Nobody's coming. Nobody's going to come and shake you and say, oh, you got to do it. Just like we talked about on the first episode where it's like, okay, recovery, some people say everybody's in recovery from something. And it's like, yeah, that's cool. I understand what they mean by that. But me claiming my recovery, it puts me in a driver's seat of this thing. Like, it doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter how talented you say I am. It doesn't matter how much you wish I would blow up. Damn, he should have blown up by now. What does that even mean, by the way? What the fuck is blown up, right? Does that mean that like 1 million people watch you at the same time? Like I've been on billboards throughout the city and have had $0 in my bank account simultaneously. I think I have understanding of what blow up means. Blow up is when my bank account blow up. So for those of you who wish that I would blow up, like buy me a coffee after this episode. It's in a link in whatever you're listening to this podcast at. Buy me a couple of coffees. That'll blow me up. But no, like nobody is going to come shake us up and do this for us. And that's what recovery has been for me. Now let's switch over to the emotional aspect. So we talked about the business and we talk about and you, like I said, you're actively looking at me fleshing out the business. I'm learning so much more by the day. Like I am the best I've ever been today. And tomorrow I'm going to be even more dangerous business wise. Now let's talk about the emotions. So the emotions are huge because like we talked about earlier, I was the type of person that would use drugs and alcohol to numb emotions or to alter my mood in such a way. Like I'd smoke weed to be creative. I'd, pop Adderall to be smart. I'd pop a Xanax to be laid back. I'd drink alcohol to be talkative. I'd, pop Vicodin to be a strong person. I'd, to have fun. I'd pop an ecstasy. You know what I'm saying? Like all these things I would use to cultivate stuff inside of me. Now it's up to me to figure out how to pull that outside of myself. How do I do that? How do we do that? How do we show up for life? The same life that when I was, I would come outside and people would be outside and telling me who got killed in the neighborhood. That I'm living in this same life, the same life where these things exist. How do I show up for that same life in such a way that allows for me to be empowered in my emotions and show up strong and empowered? Well, now we're talking about intention. So recovery, I think... Look, I know you was vibing and I hate to interrupt your flow. We're going to get right back to the episode in a second. But I interrupt the program for good reasoning. Look, if you are here listening to You Feel That, the absolute best emotional, mental, and spiritual empowerment podcast for creatives and entrepreneurs, chances are you're either being called to build something and are looking for where to start. You've already defined what it is that you're looking to build and are currently fleshing that out. And you're here looking for encouragement, motivation, and more context for yourself and your business to help you to continue to manifest. Or maybe you've been around the block a few times. You've taken something from ideation to creation. And in order to stay on top of your game and continue to win, you have to stay sharp. And you're here to make sure that you're perpetually the sharpest tool in the shed. So I got to thinking, what is one common problem that all three of these people share? Number one, knowing who we are. We don't know who we are. Even when you achieve something, even when you accomplish something, it can be hard to figure out who we are, because once we accomplish something, things change. Life continuously changes. And in those changes, we continuously change. We cannot stay the same or else we become obsolete. And look, I could just hear your ears perking up. You may not know who you are right now in this season of your life. And number two, where we're going. Whether this is your first time setting out on your entrepreneurial adventure or you're a veteran who spent the block a few times, the destination always changes, because when we get there, there's somewhere else to go. And then when we get there, there's somewhere else to go. So a process that allows for us to have a finger on the pulse of our internal compass, regardless of what the external circumstances are, is invaluable to our process of building anything great. All right, I hear your ears perking up again. You don't have a process. So look, you don't know who you are and you don't have no process. What if I told you I wrote a manual to help you discover these things within yourself? I hear those ears perking up again. The Handbook, a pocket guide for creating your desired reality and being a good human while you're at it, is available for purchase right now. Within this book, we dig into and develop a foundation within ourselves of perception, gratitude, understanding, completion, all of the timeless principles that will help you to discover your path for the first time or for the 12th time. This book will help you find yourself or remember who you are, as well as get clear on the pathway towards what it is you're looking to create. If this sounds like something you could benefit from, you need to go ahead and grab your copy. Head on over to brycethe3rd.com/the handbook. The link is conveniently located in the podcast description below, wherever you're looking at or listening to this podcast. You can even go on Amazon and search on Amazon The Handbook by Bryce the Third and grab your copy. When I first got started on my entrepreneurial journey, I wish I had a handbook to help me discover who it is that I am and where it is that I'm going. And now you got one. Grab your copy of the handbook today and unlock the key to your clarity in business and in life. All right, back to the show. I would offer that a big, I don't know if I would say a synonym for recovery, but I think I will. I think I will. And y'all just gonna have to fight me. We can have somebody on the show that thinks otherwise. But I think the synonym for recovery is intentionality. I am about the way my life turns out. Like, I no longer am just chalking it up to reactivity. Like, if I slap somebody, like, I'm no longer like, oh yeah, he made me mad and so I slapped him. Like, recovery to me is like, oh no, like, I had to protect my mom in this circumstance. I know it's wrong to slap people, and I'm up for whatever comes up with that, but I know that I took the action that is in alignment with who it is that I see myself as being, and I did that quickly in my mind enough to decide that this was the action that I needed to take. Like, that's how intentional recovery has been for me. Knowing that there is no reactivity. There is no person, place, or thing that is in control of my life that dictates how my life ends up. A good book to read is Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. And he came up with this therapeutic process called logotherapy. But what I took from the book, I've read it twice, and I read it once when I was working in that factory, and it really helped me to get through that factory life, because this is this guy who's in, Holocaust Germany, and I think he went to Auschwitz, or you went to one of these concentration camps, and very early on his wife was killed, and it got to a point in the book where I don't know if I want to spoil the book, but it's like this man had nothing left, and he was still able to find meaning. He was still able to find a reason to live, and as long as he held on to that reason to live, and he found that intentionality as to why it is that he was continuing to live, he found purpose. In the lowest of circumstance, in the most pain that he experienced, he found purpose, and he moved as such. And so Ram Dass, a spiritual father of mine, I'm super excited. I'm going to Spirit Rock this year, and he was at Spirit Rock, and I get to kind of feel his energy. He's since passed away, but he had like a stroke or something like that, and he was in his wheelchair. And it was a special I watched called Becoming Nobody. It's on Amazon Prime. I bought it. I'll buy it 30 times again because it's like one of my favorite movies. Ram Dass, he has a very intricate way to speak to the spirit. But he was talking about this pain that he feels because he's wheelchair bound, and he was talking about this pain that he was experiencing. And he got to a point where he's talking to this guy that's interviewing him, and he was like, it's one of those days where the pain is especially gorgeous. He used the word gorgeous for pain. And it always stuck out to me. Somebody might watch the documentary and not even catch that. But stuff like that sticks out to me. Sarah Blondin, one of my favorite meditation teachers, she has some physical things that she experiences. And she's like one of the most prolific poetic meditation instructors that I've ever sat in guided meditation with. People who are able to take some of the hardest circumstances in life and alchemize them into something that means something and allows for us to see even more beauty in life. Those are the people that I feed off of for my recovery. Recovery for me is not just put my fingers in my ear and la la la, nothing's going on. I'm just doing this sober thing and blah blah blah. Like recovery for me is learning to be here present in life. Here in it, in the midst of it, everything blowing up, kids going crazy, the bank account look kind of weird, all these things going, raccoon living in my goddamn, I think I got a raccoon in my shit, like it'd be scratching at night, like, but all these things going crazy and still being able to find not only peace and stillness, but be able to find purpose and meaning and show up in such a way that allows for me to continue to contribute to this thing. To continue to use my experience and all the crazy shit that I experienced, use it in such a way that I can give it to you and help you to shortcut the process and help you tap into this energy too. That's what recovery has led me to be. Now, this may sound like a lot, and I don't want to put pressure or weight on this thing called recovery, because once again, I really want to pull out that recovery is self-defined. Your recovery is whatever your recovery is. Whatever you say your recovery is what your recovery is, which leads me to multiple pathways. There's people I know, my homegirl, she smoked crack cocaine for 20-something years and then ended up just smoking weed, and now she smokes weed, but did her quality of life increase? Yeah, it did. I come from 12-step where I first started with complete abstinence, and I did complete abstinence for 7 years, and then I embarked upon psychedelics. There were some psychedelic trips that I've taken, and those have increased the quality of my life 20-fold. And we're going to have some episodes on this podcast about psychedelics and recovery, because there's some stigma around that. There's certain, 12 steps that how you feel like, oh, you relapse if you do this and this and this. And this is another thing that we don't really talk about. But I think that people, defining your recovery is on you. So all these things that I'm sharing to you is what my recovery is defined as. This is how I've come to define my recovery. My recovery puts me at the forefront of life, puts me on the front lines, puts me here in the midst of it, allows me to experience it, turn it on its head, and alchemize it into more meaning. It allows for my life is ever expanding, continuously just getting huge and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And I'm having bigger and bigger experiences, and I'm coming in contact with bigger and bigger spirits, and I'm getting in bigger rooms, and I'm putting myself in bigger positions to be able to influence people and help people and guide people and teach people. And the more I experience, the more I'm able to teach, because the more I experience, the more I'm able to learn from life. Life is the greatest teacher we'll ever have. That's what recovery is to me, to be able to sit in the seat of life's classroom. To be able to sit in the seat of life's classroom and be attentive and receptive to what it is that life is teaching me. Life is giving me everything that I need to have everything ever that I'll ever want. Anything that I need in life, I already have it right now. And all I have to do is tap into what it is that life is teaching me. And that's what recovery means to me. Recovery is not a thing where it's like, oh, I must adhere to these rules. I must do this. And, where that same thing that I can see can kind of sometimes happen with religion. And I don't want to get like super crazy, like in my viewpoint here, but it's this thing that Everything that we see in life has to go through this lens of what we've come to understand that life is. And it's just not that for me. Like, life continues to blossom and show me what it is. And I'm able to allow for my understanding to continue to expand. And doing so, like, I've been led to places I never thought I'd be led to. I've talked to people I never thought I'd talk to. I've done things I never thought I'd do. And it continues. And it continues. And now in 12 step, we call it entire psychic change. If you would have talked to me, like, I can show you pictures of what it is that I used to look. I've shown people pictures of who it is that I used to be and what it is that I used to look like. And people are like, bro, you are not the same person. Like, who are you? Entire psychic change. This is how we become different people. So I use all this, I put all this on the floor, and I felt that it was super important because I feel like active addiction, alcoholism, we need to destigmatize that, especially in Black culture, because anybody can get sucked into that, not even knowing that that's what they're getting sucked into. And what keeps people sucked into it and going further and further down is that they feel that they can't reach out for help. Well, let me tell you this. I reached out for help, and I got it. And you can reach out for help too, and it's available to you. There's some resources you can take advantage of. So now I work with a nonprofit called The Phoenix. We create sober active community for people nationwide and in Detroit, for people to be able to come and get together. And the only requirement for any of the programming that we create is just 48 hours of sobriety. Like, what? Like, I wish I had this when I first got out of rehab. I'd be going to all type of indoor rock climbing and kayaking and basketball program and soccer teams, and like all this shit is free. All this shit is free. All you got to do is show up. And be like, yo, like, I'm trying to find friends, and I'm kind of sober curious. I want to see what it's like to have fun and go out and be active, like, without alcohol and drugs, like, maybe, or whatever your story is. All you got to do is show up. What? Meditation too. I lead meditation every Monday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for now. I do conversations in mindfulness, which is I guide meditation, and then after we talk about it, and like, what? I wish I had that. Like, I had to listen to Sarah Blondin and Tiger Singleton on repeat, Ram Dass, and by myself. Like, I didn't know that these things existed. You know, we got yoga studios all throughout the city of Detroit. We got, we doing all type of stuff this summer. We doing music concerts and all type of stuff. And everybody is sober. Everybody is in recovery, seeking this life, like, without that the things that we used to get away from how it is that we felt. So now we can have these conversations. We have to be in these rooms where it's like, I don't know who to talk to. I'm scared to talk to anybody because everybody on their own vibe. Now we got rooms this is our vibe. Meditation's been big for me too. Mindfulness, that thing I told you on the first episode, or maybe it was this episode, I don't know, but that thing where it's like I couldn't accept what it was that I felt. It was experiential avoidance. I didn't want to have the experience I was having, and so I would use whatever I needed to use to get away from it. Meditation has allowed me to sit into it, investigate. Why do I feel these ways when this happened? Why do I feel like this when you say this to me? Why do I feel like this when I'm not included? Why do I feel like this when you don't converse about me? Why do I feel like this when you don't love me? Or not when you don't love me, but when I don't feel loved? Why do I automatically jump to these conclusions? Where's this anger coming from? Like, I'm continuously leaning in and allowing for my emotions to be my teacher just as well. Teach me more about myself. And let me tell you how much this is applicable to business. In business, there's going to be times where you don't even fucking know. You have no idea how things are going to turn out. Should I get this coaching training? Should I go for this? Should I do this? Should I invest in this program? Like, I've never spent this amount of money on a coach. Like, but I really want to be able to learn how to do what it is that this person does. And this person speaks to my spirit in such a way that, like, I really feel like I need to do this thing. Having that relationship with our inner wisdom, that voice that tells us, yeah, do that. That's something that has to be cultivated. And that's something that comes when we recover. That's something that comes with the increased quality of life, with continuing to refer to that voice and see what that voice has to tell us, and listening and seeing the difference between the monkey mind and the inner wisdom, that the mind full of anxiety and full of like scarcity and full of like, if I don't do this real quick, then this and blah, blah, blah. Like, learning to be able to see that, and also learning to be able to see, oh, that's the voice of wisdom right there. Like the one that was calm. Like, it don't even feel like I don't even feel like butterflies. I can feel like a year, like an entire year. Meditation has helped a lot. Gratitude has helped immensely. Intentional gratitude. Learning how to focus on the things that I'm grateful for, because there's always something in life. I actually use gratitude. So gratitude is the freest thing that we can use to manifest our desires. And I got a course I can't wait to share with you all. Manifesting your desires using gratitude. It is phenomenal. And it lays out the process that I've been able to use to create some of this cool shit, to create you even being here listening to this. There's so many tools. And we'll close this out by saying like this and reminding you that this is a forever process. Recovery is a forever process. And there's unlimited tools. We are dynamic human beings. So something that worked for me yesterday might not work for me today. Something that worked for me last season might not work for me this season. There's things I was sad about last season that this season are my baseline. Like I'm okay. I'm all right. I'm good. Recovery allows for us to show up for this dynamic process. Allows for us to unfold continuously. Like the unfolding never stops. Continuously showing up for ourselves and allowing for ourselves to grow and develop. This is the life. Like we are in the flow of life, hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. This is it. This is it. And when I say this is it, I don't mean like a future or an unchangeable past. I mean right now, this moment. Recovery allows for me to show up for you right now in this moment. This is the beauty of it. And it's available. There's resources out here to take advantage of. I just got off the phone with a representative of Black Men Heal, an organization giving free therapy to people in underserved communities, specifically Black men. Free therapy. There's these resources out here. We just got to ask for them. We just got to be willing to get humble and ask for them. And know that when you ask for help, you're not weak. Matter of fact, it's strong as shit to ask for help. It's strong as shit to ask for help. I would think it's the other way around. Like it's scary to not ask for help. You're a scary person. If the ship is crashing and you don't know how to drive the ship, but you're not going to ask for help, that's some scary shit, bro. I need you to ask the co-captain or something. Ask for help. And we're here. It's a whole community. It's a whole tons of community. It's crazy how many communities I belong to. At first, I didn't have all this. This has to be cultivated. And it has to start with you asking for help. So I'm glad I finally got this episode out. I've been wanting to get this one off for a minute. I don't know what took me so long. I think I'm starting to get into like this flow of just being open about having these conversations that need to be had and just letting people do with it what they will. But I'm no longer going to be the reason that you don't have these tools. I'm no longer going to be the reason that you don't have these resources. I'm no longer going to be the reason that you don't know entirely what it is that I'm here to represent. So we on the floor with it. And I'm just can we take a moment for like gratitude? I'm just super grateful for these platforms to be able to do this. I'm super grateful for the resources that I'm able to offer you. I'm super grateful for you for watching this far and listening to my story. And I hope that something resonated. And I'm sending you the best, most healing, most compassionate, most understanding, most loving energy that I could ever send to each and every one of you. You know the deal. Head over to Apple Podcasts and leave me a rating and review. Specifically that review. You can leave me that rating, however many stars you want. I appreciate honesty. 5 stars. But if you want to leave me a written review, that'd be wonderful. That's social proof. That shows that this show is actually substantial. It actually means some people pop up to the show. They see the artwork. They're like, dang, cool artwork. And then they go down to the reviews and maybe they'll see, your written review and they read it. And they're like, oh, wow. And it's shining as it will be because I know that you got a lot from this episode. And I'm like, oh, wow, let me subscribe. Now we got another one. We got another one in the community. We're building a community here, guys and girls. Let's continue to expand it and help me to be able to do so by leaving me a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. Also, got some cool opportunities, including in-person events here in the city of Detroit, some one-on-one coaching opportunities, some courses coming out. I got a lot of stuff on the way. And if you feel that you want to take advantage of stuff like that and be the first to know, I need you to text "you feel that" to 313-254-5972. Once again, that's 313-254-5972. Text "you feel that" to that number. You'll be the first to know about any and all of the things that we got going on, opportunities for you to invest in yourself, your mental wellness, your emotional wellness, your empowerment, your entrepreneurial know-how, all that good stuff. As always, my Phil fam, be intentional, love on each other, and have compassion for your process. I'll see you next time on You Feel That? With Bryce the Third.